You've seen this style of furniture everywhere. This chair, this TV stand, this table. Their name? Mid-century modern. And while they may feel trendy, they actually have a really long and interesting history. My name is Ariel Bissett, and this is A Style is Born, the show where we try to better understand the furniture around us and the design styles that influence the ways we live. This series is brought to us by Wayfair. Wayfair is home to hundreds of unique design styles, but today we're going to better understand how the mid-century modern style was born. I'm currently renovating my 1850s farmhouse, which is very interesting. So design styles are top of mind for me. While I've been learning a lot over the last year, I'm really excited to learn more with you.
What I want to figure out is, how did mid-century modern style come to be, and why is it so popular again?
There's a lot of clues for understanding mid-century modern right in the name. First, let's break down modern, because in the art world, it means a very specific thing. Modernism was simply a rejection of Victorian traditions. Look at art from the late 1800s, and then look at art from the Dadaists in the early 1900s, and then the abstract expressionists in the 40s. This didn't happen by accident. Artists and creators were trying to build the world they wanted to live in, to push things forward. So that explains the modern part of mid-century modern, but what about the mid-century part? We're painting with a bit of a broad brush here, but if we break down the 20th century into some decade chunks, it can start to help us build a picture. In the 1910s, there was a lot of innovation, but also the devastation of World War I. By the 20s, people are looking for luxury, and while not everyone could afford Great Gatsby-style parties, things like nail polish and lipstick had become really popular. With the 30s came the Great Depression, and a lot of families were struggling to get by, to say the very least. And then World War II hits. By the time the war finishes in 1945, the world was a really different place than it had been in 1900. There had been so many advancements and changes, from politics to science, industry to workforce, fashion, media, entertainment. I mean, the first computer was created during World War II. Imagine entering the war, not having any idea what a computer is, and exiting the war in a world where machines can make really complicated computations. So things had changed. And maybe one of the things that had morphed the most was the concept of home. A lot of people wanted to move on from the war and find that safety and security that they couldn't have during the war. And one way to do that was to rebuild a life with your family in a nice home, probably in the suburbs. We know that the baby boom happened in this period, from the 40s to 60s. This was a time when people fled to the suburbs, started families, bought cars, settled down with the kids in front of their recently invented television sets. And so it makes a lot of sense that they would want to fill those homes and style those homes in new and beautiful ways. So now that we know a lot about what the term means and what was going on in this period of history, I want to know more about the influences and the specific things that were really impacting these design styles. I think we should turn to some experts. So let's hit the books. Up first, I think we need to talk about materials. Almost every source I looked at mentioned how much the materials of the time were influencing the stuff that was being made.
According to Bradley Quinn in his book Mid-Century Modern, although the mid-century architectural style was strongly rooted in the natural world, vinyl, linoleum, formica, and plastic linked the interior firmly to the man-made environment as well.
Something else that came up a lot was talk of the future. The space race and wanting to get to the moon and depictions like the Jetsons or Disney's Tomorrowland all paint this picture of what could the future look like with our new technologies and the wealth we have post-war. From toys to cars to furniture, this obsession with space created a whole new aesthetic. And it's plain to see. Look at what furniture from the very early 1900s looked like, and then furniture in the mid-1900s. So, we have a war that just finished, mass production is happening, a race to space, new materials, artists creating beautiful and functional things, and a little bit more spending money. I think what I want to do now is look at one very specific example that illustrates how all of these influences came together to build one actual piece of furniture. Let's talk about chairs. A lot of this period's history and philosophy is well encapsulated in their chairs. Right before the mid-century, there had been an art movement called Bauhaus. It was a German movement. It literally meant construction house that tried to take the innovation of mass production and meld that with art.
According to the Met, the Bauhaus combined elements of both fine arts and design education.
The Bauhaus movement got cut short because of the beginning of the war, but you can see how that influence affected mid-century modern furniture that we know and love. If you go to the Bauhaus Museum in Berlin or to the Museum of Modern Art in New York, you will actually see these chairs on display. How did a chair get placed in the same building as a Monet or as a Frida? Mid-century modern chairs are beautiful, they're futuristic, they're practical, and they're aspirational. When you see one, it looks a bit like a piece of art, which leads us to the chair I'm literally sitting on now. Let's talk about the classic plastic EAMES chair, one of the most iconic pieces from this time, from probably the most iconic designer duo of the period.
Ray and Charles Eames were artists. Charles was working on design and architecture, Ray was painting in the abstract expressionist realm, and both were working with brand new materials. When the United States joined World War II in 1941, all industries were suddenly redirected onto the war effort. And the EAMES started out like this too. The EAMES were granted money to develop work on new materials like plywood, to engineer splints that were cheaper and lighter. When the war had finished, they opened the EAMES office. Their main aim was to make the best for the most for the least, like the iconic plastic chair. I feel like we've gotten to the bottom of my first question. How did mid-century modern furniture come to be? But my second question we still haven't answered. Why is it so popular again? I think I'm gonna need a little help answering this question, so I'm gonna call my friend Paige. She's a prop stylist and literally designs rooms for a living. So let's ask her. So the first question, I'm just gonna ask you flat out for your theories here.
That works.
Why is mid-century modern so popular again?
It's actually funny, when I saw that question, the first thing that came to my mind was it actually has never really gone out of style.
Yeah.
Because it came about in the 50s and the EAMES chair has never gone out of production since.
Right.
I think what makes it so popular is that it fits really well with like any type of design. So if you have modern style, if you're eclectic, if you like Art Deco, you can throw a mid-century piece in there and it works. And for me, like why I love it is it always adds in that nice touch of wood warmth. So like if you have a really like modern space, I guess, or something like light and you have a lot of white pieces, it's kind of nice to add in that one piece, like the wood credenza, to warmthen up the space. And it also gives that really nice vintage touch that I think a lot of people are interested in including in their homes now.
Do you think that it's here to stay?
I definitely think it's here to stay. Everyone has a mid-century piece, but to me, when I look at it, I'm not like, oh, like it's trendy or anything. It's like, oh, you have that really cool, unique mid-century piece. It pretty much goes with everything.
It's the perfect style. What can we say?
It is. I love mid-century.
So clearly, there's a lot of reasons why it's back. A lot of scholars agree with what Paige had said, that it kind of never went out of style because it works so well with other trends. Personally, based on everything I've read, I couldn't help but notice the similarities between what's going on right now versus what was going on in that mid-century period. Obviously, we're still in the middle of it, so who knows what we'll kind of realize and be able to look back on and understand 20 years from now. But from where we're sitting right now, after the 2007 recession and throughout this pandemic period, a lot of people are trying to make their homes beautiful and comfortable. And a lot of people have started working from home, so that's another reason to feel really comfortable in your house. According to ComScore, 74 million Americans completed a home remodel job in 2020, up 20% from the year before. Myself included. If I was gonna be here all of the time, I wanted to make it beautiful. And so I turned to new furniture, and a lot of the mid-century style pieces are so beautiful and warm and inviting and fit in really well with other pieces that I have. At the end of the day though, I think that the magic of mid-century modern furniture is that somehow it feels retro and nostalgic and romantic, while also simultaneously feeling sleek and modern and futuristic.
Thank you so much for joining me and Wayfair on this journey to better understand mid-century modern furniture. Head over to Wayfair to discover mid-century modern style for yourself, as well as hundreds of other unique styles and pieces. Do you have a suggestion on what style we should do a deep dive on next? Let me know down in the comments, and let me know what your favorite piece of mid-century modern furniture is. Mine are these tiny chairs. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.